Boxing truth here. James Degale is full of shit when it comes to a Gennady Golovkin fight. He's not serious at all about a Triple G fight because he knows full damn well he needs Daddy Al's permission to even get a Golovkin fight. You don't believe me? Degale could have fought Golovkin back in September when Golovkin was having trouble finding an opponent, and he ended up fighting Kell Brook. But Degale, he was nowhere to be found when Golovkin was struggling to find an opponent. Didn't push for that fight because he was told by his advisor Al Haymon that this is the deal, this is the plan that he has set forth for you, and that is to unify in the 68-pound division in an in-house fight against Badou Jack, both Al Haymon clients. And Degale is going to unify with Badou Jack early next year after a disappointing 2016 campaign. Only one fight, got a gift decision against Porky Medina. He's had an unimpressive title reign since winning a vacant strap against Andre Dirrell in a fight that he should have knocked him out, should have dominated, shouldn't have allowed Dirrell to get back into the fight. And that is the story with James Degale. He's been in life and death struggles ever since he became a champion. He's had two uninspiring, unimpressive title defenses. Got marked up by an old man, Lucian Bute. Got walked down and outworked and outpunched by Porky Medina, who was his mandatory challenger. The politics of boxing awarded Degale with that decision because of the plan Haymon has set forth for him, and that is to unify as the winner of the Jack Degale fight is going to be recognized as the lineal champion of the division. Ring Magazine is going to put their title on the line for that fight. But even whoever comes out on top of that fight, and I really don't know who's going to win that fight. That fight is a 50-50 fight to me. I'm not impressed with either guy. Never been impressed with either Badou Jack or James Degale. The British boxing public are delusional. Degale's fans or the people that hype him up, they're absolutely delusional if they actually think this guy is going to be an elite fighter or a top operator or a pound-for-pound level fighter. Degale is just another okay fighter, another paper champion with a pretty much fraudulent title reign so far. He really shouldn't even be a champion right now after getting a gift decision against Porky Medina. But now here he is, just one fight this year, a lot of inactivity ever since he signed with Al Haymon. And that move has changed the course and the direction of Degale's career. He's getting paid well, which is the upside about his agreement with Al Haymon, but he's abandoning his UK market. And Eddie Hearn is disappointed with his decision to sign with Al Haymon because he feels he could have developed Degale into a much bigger attraction in the UK and even a pay-per-view star over there, instead of relying on hedge fund money when it comes to signing with Al Haymon, where the money just doesn't add up. I mean, how the hell are you getting these type of paydays when you're fighting on a fucking undercard? Like in Degale's last fight, in front of less than 5,000 people in Washington, D.C. And now, the plan for you is to continue to take in-house fights, which is why I feel you're not serious about Gennady Golovkin, because Al Haymon is not going to risk you outside the PBC realm to fight Golovkin. Al Haymon knows you'll get trashed in that fight. Degale is just, I'm not even sure he's even the second best super middleweight in the world. I really don't know who's going to win the Badou Jack Degale fight. Neither guy really impresses me much. I feel Zurdo Ramirez is the best super middleweight in the world. I feel he's the one that would trash both of these guys in one night. But unfortunately for Zurdo Ramirez, he's going through a hand injury that's healing up, which has stalled his career and his title reign. And he'll be back in the ring early next year to further campaign at 168 pounds. And hopefully a fight for all the marbles, or at least 3 of the 4 belts, will happen between Zurdo Ramirez and the winner of James Degale and Badou Jack. But I'm not holding my breath. It seems to me the plan for Degale is if he gets by Badou Jack, is to make a mandatory defense. He will have a mandatory obligation with Callum Smith, and that's going to be interesting. That fight, potentially between Degale and Callum Smith, will feature a Matchroom fighter, Eddie Hearn's fighter, against Degale. And Degale's contract with Eddie Hearn is pretty much about to expire. I believe there's only one more fight left on the deal. And Eddie Hearn, I feel, is trying to set up Callum Smith to beat James Degale, because Callum Smith is with Eddie Hearn all the way. Eddie Hearn is not a spectator when it comes to Callum Smith like he is when it comes to James Degale. Eddie Hearn doesn't like being a sham promoter for a fighter. He doesn't like that he can't run the show or control a fighter's career or develop or build him into an attraction. He's pretty much a spectator when it comes to Degale. Hearn has to wait, and he's pretty much in the dark until Haymon tells him when, where, and who Degale is going to fight. And as a result, Eddie Hearn is questioning and criticizing the decision Degale has made in signing with Al Haymon. Too much inactivity, no homecoming fights, fighting in areas where it really doesn't make sense, fighting on undercards, fighting on the road, not fighting in front of his hometown fans back in the UK. And that's the plan for James Degale. If he beats Badou Jack, makes a Mando defense against Callum Smith, and if he gets by that fight, Al Haymon is going to cash him out with Adonis Stevenson. But Degale just ain't that good, man. Not strong enough, not a good enough boxer, not slick enough, not the fastest feet, not the fastest hands, doesn't have much power, he's not that strong. He's pretty much a relatively small super middleweight. Degale's going to get beat again sooner or later. He's going to get chinned and flattened if he fights Adonis Stevenson. Stevenson destroys him. If Stevenson has if he's the same type of version he was in his last fight against Thomas Williams Jr., Degale's going to get knocked spark out, as the English like to say, if he fights Adonis Stevenson. I just don't see Haymon risking Degale to Golovkin. Golovkin makes easy work of James Degale. Wouldn't be much of a fight, in my opinion. Degale just doesn't have enough in his arsenal. Doesn't have the power, doesn't have the boxing ability, doesn't have the speed to really trouble Golovkin all that much. So I see Degale, who's a very flawed fighter, getting cashed out against an in-house fight. In an in-house fight among Al Haymon's stable, and that'll be Adonis Stevenson. Which is why I feel Degale is full of shit when it comes to the Golovkin fight. Calling him out, but knows full damn well he needs Daddy Al's permission. And Al's not going to give him that. He's not going to allow him to fight Gennady Golovkin. He's got other ideas, other fights in his mind that he wants to make, fights that are more beneficial to him. Not necessarily what's most beneficial to the fighter, in this case, James Degale. But we'll see what happens in that unification bout. I don't recognize the winner of that fight as the best super middleweight. They have to beat Zurdo Ramirez for me to recognize him as the best super middleweight. That would impress me if they was to fight Zurdo and beat him. That would really make a statement. But taking an in-house fights against and another flawed fighter in Badou Jack, two guys that are flawed, but it's a 50-50 fight. Not sure at all who's going to win. Wouldn't surprise me if Badou Jack was able to pull it off and become unified champion. That's just how much I think of James Degale. Not much, really. But we'll see how Haymon plans the rest of Degale's career. Don't really see too many top-level fights left in Degale's career. He's going to get beat sooner or later. Won't be surprised if it's Jack that beats him. It wouldn't shock me if Callum Smith beats him. And if he fights Adonis Stevenson, That's pretty much going to be the end of his days as a top-level fighter at around the 68-75 divisions. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.